get started. So I'll start off by saying good afternoon. My name is, well, good afternoon for me. For some of you, it's afternoon, and some of you evening and morning, depending on what part of the world you're coming from. My name is Miljan Trulov. I'm the Vice President and Dean of Admission and Financial Aid. And it's great to have you all here. This is kind of a fun session. Many of you are making important decisions about where you want to be for 4 years. Some of you are juniors and you're still starting the college search. You know, by show of hands, either emoticon or your hand if you're on video, who's a senior? How many seniors do we have? Cool, very cool. And how many juniors? Who's a junior? All right, fun to have most of you. So maybe about 80% admitted seniors. Well, again, my name is Miljan Trulov, Vice President, Dean of Admission and Financial Aid. And this is a student life session. So our goal today is to give you a lot of information of what it's like to live on campus. You've heard a lot about the academic program. You've heard a lot from me and from the president. And today we have 4 of our deans in student life who are going to share both information about their areas, but also answer your questions. And so we're going to start off with introductions of our associate deans. And then they're going to open it up for questions. I'm going to ask that you all private chat me your questions because we tend to get more questions than we can cover. And I'm actually going to consolidate some of the questions, and I'm going to send those to our deans and ask that they respond to them. So in just a moment, I'm going to send out a note to everyone saying private chat me with your questions, send those to me. And over the course of the session, I will throw those out to our deans and make sure that they can respond to those. But why don't we start off with having our deans introduce themselves? And Amy, why don't you go first?
Sure. Hi, my name is Amy Schuckman. I use she and her pronouns. I am the Associate Dean of Student and Campus Life. I've worked at Reed since 2007, so I definitely have had some experience in different roles at Reed. I oversee residence life, student engagement, and orientation. So I'm very excited to see and talk to you all today as we are getting many of our plans are underway to greet you in the fall. Julie, I'll give it to you.
You got it. Hello, everyone. My name is Julie Maxfield. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Associate Dean of Students for Academic Life, which means that I oversee supportive resources for students related to the academic programs. So academic support, disability and accessibility resources, tutoring, that sort of stuff. And then I also oversee international student services. So I'm very excited to welcome those folks to our campus as well. Let me kick it to Carrie.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Dr. Carrie Baldwin-Sayer. I use she, her pronouns. And my purview is health and well-being. My title is Associate Dean of Students for Health and Well-being. And the areas under my oversight are our athletics, fitness, and outdoor programs, our health and counseling center, and our sexual health and relationship education program. So I am relatively new to Reed, so I will look to my colleagues if there are questions that I cannot answer, but I'm very excited to talk with you all today. And I'm also really sorry for those of you seniors who are having this happen to you in your final year. My heart breaks for you and goes out to you, and I just wish you all the very best and know that we're so excited to see you next year. Britt?
Hi, everyone. My name is Britt Hoover. I use she, her pronouns. I'm the Assistant Dean for Student Support. So I oversee the Student Support Network that includes the Reed Care Team. And that's a group of individuals from across the college that coordinates support and resources for students, helps you with problem solving when you encounter challenges or obstacles, and just generally offers some reassurances and encouragement as the year goes along. I also oversee our emergency support services as well.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Again, we're going to jump right into questions, so don't be shy about sending those to me via private chat. And one of our first questions is a common one, but a fun one. how are roommates assigned? Do we do a questionnaire? Is it like an advancedmatch.com? Is it random?
Sure. So lots of different ways, actually. Starting May 1, all students who are admitted will be able to access their housing preference form. In that housing preference form, you fill out kind of a lifestyle questionnaire about like, how late do you like to stay up? Do you like quiet? You know, how clean do you keep your room, and those kind of things. Then there's kind of a search engine in the housing portal that allows you to search for people who maybe have listed similar things on their lifestyle question. Alternatively, we find a lot of students kind of link up and get to know each other through other social media channels, whether it be Facebook or other things, or maybe even kind of chats and meetings like these. And if that's the case, you could actually search for the student by name and then link to them within the housing portal. We try our best to really accommodate roommate requests. We do try to make sure that both parties are requesting for that roommate relationship to happen. And yeah, we actually find over half of our students who end up in doubles end up requesting a specific person as the roommate, which is kind of fun.
Excellent. So these pre-orientation programs, what are they? What do they do? What are they for?
Sure, that's me again. And feel free, others, feel free to jump in. There are 4 different pre-orientation programs. 2 of them are more identity-based, and that is international student orientation, which Julie can take some questions about as well as peer mentor orientation. And the peer mentor program generally is for students from underrepresented backgrounds. And then additionally, we have SEEDS, which is our community engagement program. They run service trips within the community, getting to know Portland, but also giving back. And then the other pre-orientation experience is an outdoor experience, going from anything from rock climbing to canoeing, and really kind of going at all different levels of kind of physical stuff. There's information about all of those on our orientation website, and all those forms will be open starting May 1. Additionally, there's contact information for organizers of those if you have kind of specific questions about the experiences or what they look like as well.
Excellent. This is a great question. What kinds of support do we offer, both for the academic program and also for the emotional needs, to help students adapt to the rigor and academic load at the college?
Yeah, great question. I'll start, and then Julie, do you want to build on my answer? Wonderful. So we have a very far-reaching support network at the college. We have a health and counseling center on campus that's staffed by both medical professionals and counselors, and Carrie can answer some questions about the services of the Health and Counseling Center. We have a robust academic support service department that includes tutoring and academic coaching, and Julie can answer questions about that. And then we also have just general support across the college. You will have close relationships with your faculty and your faculty advisor, and that means that there's a natural bridge there for developing a relationship with someone who can watch your progress, help you problem solve when there are obstacles, or refer you to more specialized support resources like the care team if you need it. Julie and Carrie, what would you like to add about your departments?
Yeah, I'll just say, I think that's a great summary. Yeah, so every student gets an academic advisor that's a member of the faculty. So you'll have an instant connection to one faculty member, and then they'll help you with the course selection for your first year, and they'll check in with you periodically throughout the semester in order to help you adjust. They're not necessarily a faculty member you're taking a class with, and so that means that they can help you sort of understand academic culture and not also be the person who's assigning you grades. So there's also lots of peer support for adjusting to the academic program. So Britt mentioned tutoring. Lots of our students have been tutors in high school, maybe some of you even. when you get to read, you might find that it's actually really still helpful to have that back and forth with another student in a formal way. But this time you're asking for help. So we've got lots of peers that will help you figure out what worked for them in their first year and how they adjusted. So lots of support in that way. And then staff who do academic coaching around time management and finding structure and routine in a new environment. That staff has been really amazing and nimble in helping our current students adjust to the new remote learning environment, and they're ready to help you adjust to life as a college student. So lots of transitions that we're all ready to help with.
Yeah, and echoing what Britt said, we have our Health and Counseling Center, or HCC for short, as we call it, and all students can access services at the HCC for almost always for no cost. Counseling is at no cost to students as needed, and they can help with all sorts of things. They can help with what it's like to transition from college or from high school to college, what it's like to be away from home for the first time, anxiety associated with school, mild cases of depression. So there's a variety of reasons why folks come to the counseling center, and they're there to help you and provide support. So that's another resource in addition to the four of us and a lot of different support services on campus outside of the HCC.
I also just want to make mention too that we have many students who serve in peer advisor or peer mentor capacities. So if you live on campus, you will have a house advisor, which is an upper division student who lives in housing and helps you get to know campus and build community in your residential area. But we also have, for example, if you participate in the peer mentor program, that's the program that Amy mentioned that is for students of historically marginalized identities or groups. You're paired with an upper division student as well, who you meet up for once in a while for coffee or talking or hanging out, getting to know more parts of the college. And same for international students. There's a mentorship program where we connect students and match them to an upperclassman who's also an international student.
Your questions are coming in, and by the way, they're fantastic questions, so feel free to keep them coming. We are, I think, gonna have questions for this the whole time we're here, so just to let our speakers know that they're doing a great job of covering these, and we've got plenty more around the corner. These two questions are closely related. What is the process for creating a club, and do students find it particularly difficult to be involved in extracurricular activities, given how rigorous the academics are at Reed?
Sure, I'll take the first part about how to either create a club or find a club. One of the awesome things that I'm sure you all know about Reed is student autonomy is huge here. And a big part of that is that the student body controls kind of a large budget in which they fund the student clubs on campus. And that pretty much anyone can make a student club. All you need to do is attend a training where you learn how to apply for funding to support your club. So we see the clubs and organizations ranging anywhere from like Sky Appreciation Society and Cheese Club to more serious topics like, anyone else jump in? I can't remember a serious one now.
Pre-med, or, you know, something related to an academic or career goal.
Thank you. So I think student engagement also provides informal advising to these student organizations and helps students start clubs, but also helps them kind of go through the growing pains. Running an organization is hard. Some students have a lot of time to dedicate to it, and some other students just kind of want to engage when they have time to do that. We also try to provide different opportunities for students to be able to learn about these clubs and organizations, and hold several events a semester where students can kind of walk around and meet other people and often like see visual representation of the clubs. Like, for example, we have an aerial club, and they'll set up their aerial rig and do all kinds of things that I don't know how to do at high heights, which is pretty awesome. And then the second question was about engagement in opportunities with the rigorous academics. I would definitely say we do see a lot of students who are very interested in getting involved in clubs and organizations. And additionally, we see a lot of students become very connected to their majors or specifically their areas of interest. One of the really neat things that our Center for Life Beyond Read does is they do communities of interest where they group students based upon kind of like the areas that they're interested in rather than the specific job that they're interested in or the specific internship or things like that. And we often see a lot of kind of students gathering and really spending a lot of time with people who share interests like that, which I think is kind of a fun difference that I see at Reed. And I will let one of my
Yeah, I'll just add that I think that while Reed is rigorous and lots of students spend time on their academics, I think the time you spend on recreation, on joy, on creative pursuits is time well spent and actually helps you with managing stress and having a more holistic, like rounded sense of well-being for yourself. So a lot of students who we find are engaged, are campus leaders or are involved in these clubs actually do better academically. They are just feeling more uplifted and they're getting all those positive benefits that often translates to energy and contentment in the classroom.
Julie, I shot you a few questions about transfer students, but I'll just say these out loud so folks can hear them. The first is, do we have any pre-orientation program tailored to transfer students? But also, what's the environment like for transfer students? Many four-year colleges tend to have primarily first-year communities. How do we help transfers fit in?
Yeah, I can start there and other folks are welcome to jump in. So the pre-orientation experiences that Amy mentioned are not specific to transfers or excluded for transfers. So transfers can go on any of those. And then traditionally during the week of orientation, once everybody is hanging out together, we do some stuff particularly for transfers related to their advising because their course registration is going to look different. And introducing those students to the resources that they're a little bit more ready for. So research librarians are of great interest to juniors and other upperclassmen. First year students maybe haven't engaged in that level of research just yet, so they're not as ready to meet those people. So, so we try to think about the transfer experience. We have an opportunity for transfers to live together when they first arrive on campus and then to continue to live together in continuing transfer housing, so so that community can grow and folks can get to know each other through there. And the whole campus is organized sort of neighborhood style by class years, so that first year students have an opportunity to hang out with primarily other first and some second year students. And folks that have a little bit more life experience and are ready to jump into college 2.0 are able to find folks nearby to them who are similarly at their point in their college career. So, so those are a few thoughts. I'll let anyone else want to jump in.
Yeah, we also have a really popular transfer and non-traditional student club group. They go off campus to dinners. They meet together during orientation a lot to welcome the new transfer students. And they provide just general support, connection, and specialized resources for the transfer non-traditional. And that, by the way, non-traditional is so broadly and subjectively defined. So that could be non-traditional in terms of age or life experience. Anyone is welcome to participate in that group. And there's a student coordinator for that group who is kind of the champion of the transfer students.
I think I'll just add that our transfer students do well academically. They're able to use their experiences at other institutions, even if those places were different from Reed, to adapt, I think. And so having already made one transition, the second one in some ways can be smoother. So I don't doubt that there are particular challenges that our transfer students face, and it's great for them to be in community and work that out and help each other out. But academically, they do seem to do quite well.
Great. Carrie, we have a student that has a question specifically about prescriptions. For someone who has to take a daily prescription medication, can that prescription be filled on campus, or do they have to bring it from home?
Sorry, I was muted there. Yes, while we don't have a pharmacy on campus to fill all types of prescriptions, depending on the type of prescription it is, and you're always welcome to write me offline and we can chat a little bit more in detail about this. Depending on the prescription, one of our healthcare providers might be able to prescribe it here in Oregon so that you could fill it at a local pharmacy. If you're unable to have that prescription transferred. So we can write it for you to be filled, but we don't actually have a pharmacy per se on campus, but it could be done locally.
Excellent, thank you very much. Amy, we have a lot of questions on Res Life. Do you think you can speak to a few of the queries that students may have?
Sure. So one of the first questions was about what sort of rooms are in Trillium. Trillium is our new residence hall that opened this past fall. It houses 180 students in 3 different wings, and it is part of the first year neighborhood, so primarily first year students and some sophomores do live in that building. It is a mix of singles, divided doubles, which are rooms that have kind of a 3/4 wall that allows kind of the best of both worlds as far as having some privacy, but also having some social interaction with a roommate. And then there are some undivided doubles, which I actually personally find to be the most beautiful rooms because they tend to be the ones on the end with a lot more space and allow students to really kind of configure their rooms in really interesting ways as well. Each of the 180 beds are kind of split up by smaller floors of about 20 students, because we have found that's a really great number to build community. And all of those, each of those kind of areas of 20 students all have their own kitchen and lounge areas. Also, the bathrooms are very different in this building than a lot of our other buildings, in which they are all kind of, the bathrooms and the showers are all kind of like standalone individual as well. So it allows for some more privacy perhaps than you might have in some of the other residence halls. Some of the other questions I got are about, do you have to pay for laundry? No, you do not have to pay for laundry. We have laundry facilities in all our residence halls, washers and dryers, and all you need to do is put your belongings in and start your laundry. Is there, and another question I've had, is there an on-campus activities cost? Are there on-campus activities that cost money to participate in? Great question. There are a couple parts to it. What I was referencing earlier, and that the student body controls kind of the money for student organizations. There is a student body fee as part of all the costs for READ, and that money is money that the Student Senate controls, and that is to fund things like Ren Fair and Cheese Club and different dances on campus and things like that. Additionally, there's tons of programming across campus, and we really try to pay attention to accessibility, particularly financially, as well, and try to make all our opportunities at no cost to students. One of the programs I love to highlight is the Gray Fund, which is an endowed fund specifically designated for students, but also faculty and staff to join to engage in fun activities together outside of the classroom. And we have students that generally plan those activities, both on the cultural side and on the outdoor side, and it can be really cool things from going to a pottery studio and making your own pottery to, I think there was a hot air balloon trip one year. Sometimes we have brought speakers to campus or bands or things like that. Gray Fund is actually one of the entities that's working on a lot of visual programming right now. So like if you're on Instagram, I encourage you to kind of check out the things that they're doing right now. More questions for me. Is there substance-free housing in first-year communities? We do have a pretty large area of substance-free housing, and that we have that area kind of, it's all class years, which provides for a pretty vibrant community, and we find that a lot of first-year students want connection with other people who are living a substance-free lifestyle as well. Generally speaking, students can control heat in their rooms, was a question we got. All our residence halls are different. So often like our student house advisors or others sometimes may have to help with a little bit of the user error, but you can generally control your own temperature in your room. And the last question it looks like I have is, do you have to pay extra for a single? No, you do not. Residence hall rooms are all the same cost, whether or not they are a single, double, or triple, and all the buildings are the same cost as well. The only kind of difference is if you live in apartments, those cost a little bit more money because those amenities are a little bit different. But we generally find that first-year students do not live in the apartments unless perhaps they have a circumstance or disability accommodation or a non-traditional age student or something like that that would have them be a better fit to live in the apartments.
Excellent.
Cool. I think I'm up next with some questions about academic advising. So some folks are wondering how faculty members support students in picking out classes and a course schedule, but then also in planning for opportunities outside the classroom, jobs, internships, that sort of thing. So absolutely, faculty are there to help with all of those pieces. They partner with our Center for Life Beyond Read, which was mentioned earlier, in some of this work. But as I mentioned, every student will get a faculty advisor upon their arrival, and we actually don't let you pick out classes on your own. You have to meet with your faculty advisor during orientation for them to sort of approve your schedule. One of the reasons for that is that we find that incoming readies tend to be very ambitious and want to take more classes than is actually feasible, and they need to have a conversation with their faculty about what are the goals and what can we do now, what can we do later, that kind of thing. So, so you'll get support picking out your classes right away in the beginning, and then throughout. So faculty serve as references for job searches. They have research opportunities in their own labs and in their own research that they sometimes offer to students, especially in the sciences and the sort of the wetter fields where there's more hands-on stuff to do, but also in the humanities and in the arts. And then if you're looking for places outside of Reed, of course, for some of these opportunities, our faculty are really well networked. They went to school somewhere else, they worked somewhere else, they've got colleagues somewhere else, and so they're able to help with that. The Center for Life Beyond Read staff are the people who are going to help you think through what internships or research opportunities would be a good match for your sort of intended path or possible path, and they'll get your documents in order and all that. But faculty can definitely help with some of the networking and offering some of their own opportunities. So if you and your first faculty advisor don't hit it off, you can change advisors. So there are plenty of really great matches out there, and folks can find that resource pretty quickly. But just as a quick heads up, if it's not a perfect fit right away, you can keep trying. So yeah. I think that's it for the academic advising bit.
Great. I think there's a question for me. Shall I take this one?
That sounds great.
Great. So there was a question about promotion regarding taking care or maintaining your mental health generally around campus, and not just via one-on-one counseling. Absolutely, there's many ways that we will encourage your good mental health. I want to make a pitch personally for something that is actually a requirement, and that's the 3 semesters or 6 quarters of physical education. I am a huge proponent of staying mentally and physically active outside of your classes in order to help maintain your mental well-being. And the PE requirement is actually designed to help you do just that. And you don't have to stick with just 6 quarters. You can there are some students that choose to do it every quarter. And there's a huge variety of classes, and they're not all tremendously physical. For instance, there's meditation classes, there are beginning yoga, stretching classes. So I think about those things as also geared towards your mental health, because the mental and physical body are very connected. So that's one thing. Also, our counseling staff we'll actually be holding varying types of groups and workshops on campus that students can participate in that aren't one-on-one counseling, but maybe more in group activities. So you don't have to go just to the Health and Counseling Center in order to have one-on-one sessions. Anyone else have other things they want to add? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so one of you asked what campus resources are there for LGBTQ students. That is a great question. So I want to make mention of a few resources. The first is there is a peer group dedicated to students who identify as LGBTQ. They are a group that meets regularly for social opportunities, for support of one another, and peer education. They'll sponsor programs, events, to create more of an inclusive campus community and spread education. There's also a dedicated working group on campus to supporting trans-identified students. So there's a lot of behind-the-scenes administrative and student support for making sure that the classroom experience, the campus experience is inclusive. So I would say that Reed is a place where we talk very comfortably about identity issues. One thing you might have noticed when we introduced ourselves is we all shared our pronouns. That's something that we do regularly here on campus. Certainly you don't have to share and introduce yourself in that way, but many people recognize that's a really important part of identity and we want to get it right. So that's something I feel like we have a higher literacy here. And it's something that we work at constantly, like to educate and grow and make sure we provide a most inclusive campus experience for our students. Another question. Oh,
Britt, could I add something?
Yeah, please, yeah.
I also just want to assure everyone that our medical and our counseling staff are very well trained to work with students, trans students, LGBT students, and we also provide gender affirming hormone therapy. Our providers are trained for that as well. So I just wanted to throw that out there before we moved on.
That's great. And then there was a second question about how we support international students. I'm going to actually have Julie answer this question as she oversees the Office for International Student Support.
Sure, thanks, Britt. So international students are supported with an orientation when they first arrive that happens before everyone else's orientation so that they can adjust jet lag wise and get set up with a few things that are different. And then they can still participate in those pre-orientation programs, the outdoor trips, that sort of thing. And then they're also connected with a mentor, so somebody who's been at Reed a little bit, in a cohort, so that there's a handful of folks all with the same mentor and they get together throughout the fall semester for social events and support of that kind. We also do a bunch of off-campus trips just for international students to get to know each other and to get to know PDX. PDX is the international airport code for Portland, so it's a nickname for Portland. So Discover PDX takes international students out on fun trips in the area, similar to Great Fun, but just for the international community. And then additionally, the International Student Advisory Board is a set of programs run by international students for the benefit of the greater community. So bringing cultural events and awareness about different traditions and food and all that kind of fun stuff that students themselves decide that they would like to share with the community. So the International Student Services Office supports third culture kids, folks from any visa standing or citizenship standing. If you feel like the international community is a part of your background, then we welcome you in the programming and support that we offer there. We also do all of the visa advising that you might expect to make sure that folks are in compliance and able to travel successfully and seek OPT, the optional practical training that comes after graduation, all that kind of stuff as well. Thanks.
Great. So I have a question about are students able to participate in dance and theater performances, a non-major? And that is yes. We have many students that participate, whether it be kind of in Thesis productions, which a senior is doing as part of their requirement, or something that a faculty member is putting on a play. We also have kind of formal kind of theater and dance options as well. Some of our student organizations are around kind of improv, or every year our students do their kind of own take on our humanities 110 course and call it Hume play. So there's definitely a lot of options. And if you haven't been to campus, I definitely encourage you kind of on our website to also kind of look at our performing arts building. It's a beautiful building that has a lot of great facilities, particularly kind of around music and theater as well. And it's only a few years old. Connected to that, someone asked, if I already play an instrument, are there ways to practice informally separate from class and formalized clubs? I know some of this, so if any of my peers want to jump in as well. The student body has a room called a band practice room, and that is tends to be more focused on drums, electric guitar, kind of like the more rock band instruments, to make myself sound old. So that is an option. And then there are practice rooms on campus that are run through kind of the music side, the music faculty. And I don't know if Julie or Britt know any more about student use if you're not connected to the major.
Yeah, so students can take music lessons and they can participate in orchestra, and they can get permission to use the recording rooms, the practice rooms through the music and performance arts building space, and many students do. And not just instruments, but also if you're a vocal performer, choir, you can access those spaces similarly.
Yeah, I just kind of want to add that at a liberal arts school, we kind of expect students to take a bunch of things in a bunch of different areas that aren't in their major. And so it's totally possible for you to check out 2 or 3 different music classes or theater classes as a way maybe to check a box in your general education or group requirements, right? Because we make you be broad. Or maybe just because it sounds like fun. But by no means are the opportunities within a department limited to the folks who are majoring. In fact, you can't even declare a major until after a couple of years, and that's typically you've been exploring all that time. So so all of the academic offerings are available. There'll be prerequisites for certain things, of course. You can't take organic chemistry yet, but I think that it's important to see all of that as open to every student.
I've got another fun question about, do you have an archery class or archery range that is open for use? Yes, we have an archery PE class. We don't have a dedicated range that we use, but the college does own targets that are pulled out for those PE classes as well. I'm not sure if they take trips off campus to other ranges as well. Kara, I'm not sure you've seen enough archery classes to know that yet or not.
No, but the Gray Fund does sponsor some off-campus going to an archery range or going to do axe throwing. Like there are those opportunities as well. Other cool PE classes, skiing. If you want to learn how to ski, we have Mount Hood, and we take a ski bus up on the weekends, and you can learn to ski or fall down the mountain. That's quite fun. And Reed has a Reed ski cabin that not only students, but maybe their visiting parent, as I see some parents are on the screen, can stay at overnight, make some hot chocolate, sit by the fire, go snowshoe, ski, snowboard, whatever you desire. But it's really great to have that in our backyard.
I kind of want to continue on that a little bit and touch a little bit on our outdoor programs, because that is such a big part. That's such a great opportunity that many students have. Portland being where it's located, we're close to the mountains, we're close to the coast, and Reed's Outdoor Club and offers many different opportunities at all different skill levels. Some connected to the Gray Fund program, but some just connected to student trips that they own. And one of the really cool things is that we recognize not everyone has those resources. You might not have that ultra cool sleeping bag that allows you to sleep in really cold weather. That's okay. We have an outdoor center that allows you to rent that equipment to really make those experiences more accessible, particularly if you haven't had those opportunities before.
And you can rent them for free. Yes. And you can go in there and get consultation anytime about how to plan your trip. So if you've never done some of this stuff before, you're in great company. Lots of people willing to help.
Excellent. So I have a few questions that I'm actually going to answer. And so the first is we had a few questions about the fall. If we plan to be online, and if so, if Reed is considering delaying the start of school, and if so, if that would be the entire campus. So that's a great question. I just talked about this a bit on the parent Q&A yesterday. Currently, our plan is to be on campus in the fall, to see your happy faces arriving, to make sure that you're living on campus, meeting your classmates, and we're currently proceeding as though that's going to be the future. One of the things that we've realized during all of this is that things rapidly change. And we have stayed committed to two things. Number one, keeping students safe and making sure that we're taking your health and well-being into consideration, and acknowledging federal and state guidelines for how to keep folks safe. But also communication. As you've all seen, we've been talking to you a whole lot in the last month and a half. And so it's our commitment to keep everyone up to date should anything change. So should our plans change for the fall, we will let you all know. But right now we are anticipating and planning for a start, and also planning alternatives. The way that those alternatives will actually fall into place really depends, and that's probably not a huge surprise. But we actually have a COVID-19 task force that meets on a daily basis every morning to discuss issues related to the novel coronavirus. We also have a larger meeting that happens at least once a week that includes all of our deans that you see here. And we spend about an hour and a half talking about how students are being taken care of, if we need to make adjustments. And what I often say is what's true on Monday sometimes might be different on Friday. But if that is indeed the case, we have let our community know. On the most recent communication from us on Friday, we actually linked in all of our communications to campus, because I know that you all are probably curious about what we've told our current students and what we've told our staff and our faculty. And so if you're curious about all of our outgoing communication, what we've said as the situation has progressed, please check out that email. You received it on Friday from me, and click on a few of the links, and we talk about both the admission timeline and the campus timeline. And we also link you to our COVID-19 response site. And so as much as possible, we're doing everything we can to keep you up to date. Related, one of you wants to know if you can take a campus tour to get a feel of campus. And so, as you all know, based on our email communication, we've been trying to work really hard and fast to bring up infrastructure. And one of the things that's going to be available starting tomorrow are small tour segments in our Instagram. And so our students are going to be talking you through different parts of the campus. This is also going to lead you to a landing page where we are taking every visual artifact that we have on campus, from photographs to Google's 3D map of campus, to give you all a better feel of what this community feels like and what it looks like. So starting tomorrow, take a look at the Instagram, take a look at the landing page, tons of pictures, tons of resources, and we think that'll give you a really great feel of what this campus community feels like. I have a couple questions, and I'm just gonna throw those out to all of our deans. Anyone can answer. So what does diversity look like at Reed? How can students enter into and stay involved in conversations about race, identity, and beliefs?
So what immediately comes to mind is there are 2 dedicated programs to help provide opportunities and pathways to doing that as a community. The first is the Multicultural Resource Center. The MRC, as we call it, or the MARC, is a hub for, one, students who do identify as historically marginalized, or students of color, for example, to group and be together in community and have social and formal space to spend time with one another, debrief experiences together. But it's also the central place for programming and education for the rest of the Reed community about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So they sponsor events that celebrate different identity groups, educate and give community members skill sets for thinking about and engaging in diversity, equity, and inclusion work, for example. The second really closely related program is called SEEDS, Students for Education, Equity, and Direct Service. So that's our community engagement office. And they are very equity minded. And so they sponsor a lot of direct community engagement in the Portland community area. They're very focused on issues related to social justice and meaningful like relationship building in the Reed community. And so those are two options, opportunities, ways for students to like live and not just think about diversity and equity work. And then of course, there's lots of informal supports and conversations happening in the classroom, in the curriculum, and just between peers. I think this is a campus community that does think and care about those things. So whether it's happening through a structured program or in your residence hall lobby, those things happen here. And we just hope we can continue to give people the tools to have those conversations and grow in those areas.
I think I would just add to Britt's answer, another layer of dedication to issues around inclusion and diversity comes in the form of our Office of Institutional Diversity, who oversees the Center for Teaching and Learning. Through those avenues, we're able to make sure that faculty and staff remain engaged in some of these conversations, and that it's not just students who are helping other students build new relationships and communicate in new ways. We also want to make sure that faculty and staff are appropriately trained and resourced in these areas.
Yeah, and I think those conversations start happening over the summer, and are one of our large programs that we do during orientation is run by the MRC and our Office of Institutional Diversity, really helping give students all similar language to use, because we recognize that people are coming from all over the world and have different exposure to different people and different things, and so much sometimes in dialogues is maybe people just aren't using the same words to be able to kind of go through those kind of growing opportunities together.
I just acknowledge, I know that usually our sessions are about 40 minutes and we're running a bit long. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is because you've asked more questions than we normally have during a session. And so I'm sensing real interest in what our deans have to talk about. I am going to ask probably 3 more questions. If you all have to run off and jump off, you won't hurt our feelings, I promise, but I understand you have other things that you might need to do. But for those who are still curious, I will ask 3 or 4 more questions depending on what we can get in, but we will conclude our session at 2 o'clock. And, you know, I might ask our deans to come back again for a second session in the future if there are a lot more questions. So without further ado, I'm going to ask our deans, folks are curious about study abroad. Are these associated with specific majors? Is it primarily locations that are international? Are there abroad programs here in the States? And does it interfere with the student's ability to graduate?
Yeah, I can take a first stab at that. So study abroad programs exist for all majors. So you don't have to be a particular major to do a particular study abroad program. Students will either incorporate their study abroad experience into their major, so an art history major going to Rome or a classics major going to Greece or something along those lines. Excuse me. Or they will spend a semester sort of outside of their major doing other things that interest them. So, you know, spending a language immersion kind of experience where someone goes to Spain and does a cultural experience and learns language, but they're a chemistry major or whatever, right? So you can fit it all in. The challenge comes with the junior qualifying exam. The time that a lot of students might go abroad isn't perfectly lined up with the Reed curriculum, and so it requires a little bit of creativity and pre-planning. But there are lots of really great programs. The International Programs Office, I can give you a quick link there, has a
shout out for everyone.
Oh, perfect, yes. They've got a nice little search feature, so you can look up things by country if you want to, and some other strategies as well. But the programs that Reed sponsors, you attend them and your credits transfer automatically, and so it's very smooth and seamless that way. So I recommend chatting with your academic advisor about a plan early on, and it's a great experience.
Excellent. That was very thorough and succinct. I like it. We got everything we needed in that. So let's see. I think this is combining a lot of these questions. What do we do to build community? What sort of events do we have that might help students build relationships to each other, but also just have fun?
I'll take the first, and then people can add on to that. I think we start building community kind of through the application process. We find that as students are starting to look at schools, they're also starting to get to know each other. And once people commit to read, I find that they start finding each other on social media and really talking through those channels. That being said, if you don't do that, that's not a big deal. We have a whole week in August that is dedicated to really kind of learning the nuts and bolts of read, like the academic program and the course requirements and things like that. But then we have a huge chunk of time during that orientation week that's all about building community. It's all about kind of exposing students to different clubs and organizations and resources like the outdoor center and things like that. We recognize it can feel a little bit like drinking from a fire hose when you first get to read, just because there's so many opportunities there. So I think one of the things that we talk a lot about with first year students that, you know, talk to different people, try different things. Who you spend your time with during orientation week may not be the person that you're still friends with after fall break, and that's okay. Take a while to find the people you want to spend time with. Some people end up gravitating more towards people with shared academic interests versus more like outdoor interests or being in the theater or things like that. We also, in the majority of first year students live on campus, about 99% of them, and our student house advisors work really hard to be community builders and offer different types of programs for students. They offer kind of large scale programs if you're more interested in kind of joining programs or events that have other people there, but we also recognize a lot of our students are introverts. So we definitely offer kind of more smaller opportunities that are more one-on-one getting to know each other as well. And I will let see if my peers have anything they want to add on to that.
I'll add another unique opportunity for community building happens in Hume 110. First year students and transfer students who take Hume 110, you are paired into a small conference. And so those are students that you see, discuss, learn alongside of consistently throughout the year. And you have a facilitator, a faculty member. And so that's a place where people get to know students across the first year class or the transfer class too.
I'm going to answer 3 questions really quickly. There are other places outside of the dining hall to eat on campus, and those also include our 2 student-run coffee shops, but also a place that is run by campus for folks to grab a bite to eat. There are cross-country ski trails in and near Portland. Portland is a green place. We're an hour and a half from the ocean, an hour and a half from the mountains. So for folks that love to get outdoors, this is a great place to do it. Classrooms typically are open for students to study. So if you want some extra study time, you feel comfortable in the classroom, you'll often just walk to an academic building, walk into a class, set up shop, you or a few friends, and study. This is also a great activity for the library where seniors actually have their own cubicles for their theses programs. Let's see, and so there's a space for folks to be involved with theater productions. And a few other questions that I'm going to give to some of our admission counselors and have them respond to them. But I think that was a way I could answer all but maybe 3 or 4 of our questions today. But, you know, in the last 3 minutes, I would love for our deans to share something that they think, share something you love about Read that you think our guests would also really appreciate about the place.
I'll share. I'm the newest one, so. But I feel very strongly about the connection between our mental well-being and our physical surroundings. And the Reed campus, I actually live in the neighborhood, so I have been coming to the Reed campus since long before I actually worked there. And because it is such a beautiful like a physically beautiful, aesthetically beautiful place to be, it carries with it this just sense of calm and serenity that I just think is an incredible atmosphere to be in when you're doing academically rigorous activity, when everything around you is beautiful and serene and calming. And that's the way I feel when I'm on campus. But because it's small enough, it's large and small at the same time, you feel connected to all of the people as you're walking by. I mean, whether I know them or not, I feel like it's a sense of community. So that's personally what I love.
I'll go. I think the thing that sticks out for me is really the partnerships that we have with students. I was just thinking about how I was having a conversation with our student body president and vice president yesterday, and we were working on problem solving together about relocating their office. I find that Reed is not, particularly from the administration side, is not a very top-down place. That we work with students on a lot of issues and problems and really try to problem solve together, whether that's creating new kind of college policies or getting feedback on approaches to different things. And it's definitely something that stands out for me when I talk to my colleagues at other institutions, the way in which we just really approach our work in partnership with our students.
There's a lot of things I could pick, which is why I hesitated. But I think one of my favorite things about Reed is the senior thesis experience. I think it's a pretty special opportunity to dig deep into independent research with a faculty member and get to know a discipline. And I think what I like about it is that it encapsulates both the sort of independent spirit of like a lot of the students who come are like ready to come up with something on their own, and the thesis is a chance for that, while also working in an academic community in a collaborative way, because you don't actually get to come up with something in all fields. Sometimes you have to do a thing that's related to the biology that is already being done on campus. And so there's, I think, this neat opportunity for collaboration and independence in the thesis project, and I just love hearing about those projects and seeing students grow towards them, and all of the ways that the academic program sets you up for success there. It's just a fun highlight.
I'll just say that when Reedies have fun, you all really have fun, and you do it in really creative, interesting ways. So from Paideia Week, where we teach each other classes the first week of January before the semester begins, or we have like fire dancing that happens on the quad most nights. So if you want to learn how to spin fire and dance, we got that here. We have big bike jousting sessions. We have Ren Fair. When you all have fun, like you do it in a very intelligent, reedy way. And that's something I've always just been impressed by year after year here. So if you want to have that kind of fun, please join us.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. It's so nice to talk with you all. Plenty of admitted student sessions later on if you want to talk in smaller groups and get to know each other. Julie, Amy, Britt, Carrie, thank you all. And everyone have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.